Who's interrogating who?
Whoever wants to begin.
Aside from the specific anecdote that you shared, which of course is tragic, can you cite some actual studies that look at these statistics and back up what you say in regard to the outcomes of marriage and divorce in America?
What's up, YouTube? Today we are covering, well, a very famous debate between a pro-feminist, who I guess her name is Anna Cosby and something, I don't know, and a pro-anti-feminist, Pearl, in an epic debate that took place a little while ago. So, let's get into it.
41% of 109 rape cases reported to police in a Midwestern city were admitted to be false by complainants.
In one Midwestern city? And which Midwestern city was that?
You know, you can go from your ivory tower and tell
I'm not in
people
an
what
ivory
to
tower.
think
I'm
and
on
how
this
to
debate
feel.
stage interrogating your assertions, and you've only provided an anecdote.
Right.
Because if you look at the data, which I did, of course, you'll find that women are twice as likely to fall into poverty after divorce.
Right, because they can't
Alimony
stop
is
spending.
paid out in 10% of divorces. According to the Census Bureau, the average child support payment is $441 a month, and only 60%
Right, but how
of
much are
those
they
payments
making?
get paid out.
How much?
Women do not get child custody 90% of the time, as you have asserted before. In fact, 95% of custody cases are mutually agreed upon outside of the courtroom. Women get full custody 40% of the time. Men do get full custody 20% of the time. And 40% of the time, it's shared custody, which I think is the ideal situation, assuming that neither spouse is abusive.
And Pearl, excuse me, before you respond, if you could take your microphone out and hold it, it would be easier to hear you.
Okay. Alimony and medical care and dental are not covered by that, so a lot of times it does go above 50%. Again, you can go through the facts, the data, and the statistics and manipulate them any way that you want.
It's not
But
manipulation. Those are the stats.
There are 1.6 million men in this country. Men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide after a divorce.
Compared to women, what's the number for women?
It's lower.
Really? What is it? Comparative analysis is real difficult for you, isn't it?
Okay.
Actually, madam, it's not comparative analysis. As you can clearly see, Pearl knows better than to treat human fatalities like a competition. Because I got news for any feminist who's watching this. I don't care what it is you have in your pants. If you are going to treat human fatalities like a competition, you are an extremely dangerous individual, and every human being on the planet is a lot better off not having you in their life. They really are.
Go ahead, Pearl.
What's your next question?
You have asserted that men shouldn't get married, that instead they should shack up.
I didn't say that.
You did say that with
did
Trent
not say
Horn.
that.
Word for word, you said it makes more sense for them to shack up, live with a girlfriend, instead of getting married. Do you think the advice that you give to men is the type of advice that will fulfill their lives? Because I'll tell you one thing, the best part of my life is my husband. I love my husband. He's my rock, he's my foundation. And no, my husband is number one. I love my career, but you know what my career did? When I met my husband, my career was already established. He, on the other hand, was couch surfing, he was in debt, and didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. I married him anyway. You want to know why? Because I had the economic freedom to marry for love, not for some Chad to take care of me.
How tall is he?
Oh, he's 6'1", about your height. None, I don't want kids.
Let's not do shouting questions from there, please. Allow these two to debate each other.
Okay, what's your question?
I mean, you don't really have much to answer, so I don't know what else to ask you. Do you think you're helping men by discouraging them from entering fulfilling marriages?
Madam, you're clearly not in a fulfilling marriage yourself. You clearly are not. And the reason why I can tell this is because fulfilling marriage means happy. You literally started this debate very angry and very aggressive to Pearl, who the only thing she's guilty of is questioning a woman's position instead of just nodding and saying yes, which I find to be very sad.
What happens to men if they don't pay child support?
I mean,
What happens? What happens, Anna?
how many men do you think get
What
arrested?
happens to
I don't know
men
what the
when they
number
don't
is,
get-
but the
What
idea that
happens
there's
to
like a
men when
huge
they
number
don't-
of men getting arrested for not doing what they're supposed to do
15%.
and take care of their children, it's not a huge issue.
What happens to men when they don't
Really,
pay child support?
only 60% of child support payments get paid out.
You got to allow her to interrogate you, not them. You got to stop yelling questions at her.
You can minimize men's problems all you want, but I don't think you understand how privileged of a position you're in.
In what way? How am I privileged?
Men are the ones that are on the hook for child support. Men are the ones that are on the hook for alimony. It's easy for you to tell men to just take the risk when you're not in that position.
So are you asserting that men shouldn't pay child support following a divorce? Do you believe that women should be financially responsible 100% after a divorce?
Feminists wanted to be equal. So I say be equal. If you guys want equality, 50-50 custody, no child support, no alimony, no special privileges.
Alimony is paid out in 10%
It doesn't
of
matter
divorces.
if you're part of the
It does
10%.
matter. It does matter because you make it seem like it's a widespread issue when it's only 10%.
The tender years doctrine is a sexist law against men. That's sexist.
How is it sexist if a woman decided to forego a career, decided to be a stay-at-home mother, and the marriage doesn't work out, she has no job, she has no income, so you think it's unfair to get support from her ex-husband so she can raise the kids, so she can pay?
60% of kids under 5 have daycare. Daycare is an option now. You wanted to be men.
Do you know how much daycare costs?
You wanted to be men. Here you
Do you know how much daycare costs? Do you think it's free?
Let her answer. Let her answer.
A lot of things are expensive, Anna. I mean, it's men.
That's not an answer.
Women have 85% of consumer spending. Women spend money all the time. You spend money on hair dye, you spend money on Botox, you spend money.
You should think about it.
Now here's something I thought we should all take a notice. Notice how the people like Pearl who advocate for the rights of men, they're always very calm and collected. They're always sticking to the facts. While women like Anna, who are constantly trying to promote this illusion that women are the victims of oppression, not men, they always get very angry and very agitated real quickly, and they always end up resorting to baseless allegations and insults whenever they get questioned by their position. Reason why is simple. The fact is, men being treated like second-class citizens, we have a case. We do. Where women's claim of being treated like second-class citizens in the West, they don't have a case. That's the reason why. Fact is, I'm all for debates. I am. But here's the thing. The person who loses their temper in a debate the way Anna has, and the person who ends up resorting to insults and baseless allegations the way Anna has, is the person who has lost the debate. And Anna has lost this debate since the very moment it first started. She really has.
I sure am.
You spend money all of the time.
Yep.
So you wanted to be men, here it is. You're equal. Pay for daycare.
Equality means that when you have a child or children, you're both responsible. So the idea that the woman should take 100% of the costs on herself without any help from her husband or ex-husband is ridiculous. How is that fair?
Well, it's fair, madam, because getting pregnant may not be a choice, but becoming a single mother, Anna, is a choice that the woman makes 100% on her own free will. So, yeah, a man shouldn't be financially on the hook for a decision that a woman makes 100% on her own free will. He really shouldn't be.
Is it fair that he doesn't get 50-50 custody?
Well, first of all, why are you asserting that they don't?
It's 50% his DNA. Why can't he have 50% custody? Where
there
has
was a
feminists
study.
been?
Let me answer your question, even though I should be interrogating you. I'll answer your question. Massive study out of Massachusetts that looked at 24,000 divorces. In those 25 divorces, they found that in only 8% of cases did men ask for custody. 8%.
Right, because the average American can't afford divorce fees, Anna.
But women can afford to raise the children by themselves without support from the ex-husband. How does that make sense?
What did you say? I didn't hear you. We were both talking.
You're complaining about the costs while simultaneously arguing that a woman should not get child support in order to raise the children that the former couple had together.
Are you guys equal or not? You want to
Yes,
be equal.
equality means that you're both responsible
50.
for raising the children, and that includes the
so
cost.
You should have
Equality also means, Anna, that you're both responsible for your own personal decisions, and being a single mother is a choice that a woman makes on her own free will. It is. So the woman should be 100% financially responsible for a choice she makes 100% on her own free will, which is being a single mother.
equality, but not at the expense of men. 50-50 custody, 50-50, no child support, no alimony. That's equality. You don't want
alimony
equality.
makes sense if the woman was a stay-at-home mother and doesn't have a source of income. How else would she take care of the kids following a divorce?
By getting a job just like the men.
So you're saying that a woman who doesn't have recent job history is just going to willy-nilly enter the job force or workforce, I should say, and easily get hired? Do you guys care about this? So do you care about the children or not? Because you're making this about like the poor husband, the poor ex-husband who doesn't want to pay the child support, doesn't want, to take on any of the responsibilities of having children in the first place. Why is it that you seem to have a problem with men carrying out their responsibilities, but when it comes to
men are dying to care about their responsibilities. Men are fighting to be a part of their kids' lives.
What's the empirical data on that?
I don't need data. How many people in here have had a family or a friend fight for their kid and not be able to get it? The reason that this happens, Anna, is because lawyers tell them not to fight because it's so expensive and they won't win.
What is that based on? Based on me. You have to provide, look, Pearl, I am open to be convinced.
Anna, you're clearly not open to be convinced because you're doing the very common feminist tactic that we all seen, which is any data that does not agree with you is going to be part of a great big conspiracy project against women. Just because information does not make women look to be the pure and innocent angels of the world does not mean it's not true. For example, I once met a feminist who I told them that straight up I had professional psychiatrists who would not recommend the local Western dating market. They told me it's completely not healthy right now for men to invest in. And instead of accepting that, they made a baseless allegation saying that, hey, that I'm not interested in hearing a psychiatrist who had their license revoked multiple times. And This guy literally, these people never have their license revoked. What are you talking about?
But I need more than anecdotes. I need more than vibes and feelings. Because we're talking about something serious here. We're talking about raising children. We're talking about the shared responsibility of raising children. That, of course, includes the cost.
90% of disputed custody goes to women. That's not equal.
90%, that's a totally made up statistic. Where are you citing that from?
All right, let's take a break there because our time actually ran out. Those opening interrogations are over. Let's take a moment here. You guys want to grab a sip of water? All right. The next step is going to be 30 minutes. We're going to open it up. Again, open debate. I'd remind you guys, I know everyone's passionate about this. I get that. But we can't have multiple people debating at the same time, right? We've got one debater here, we got one debater here. Let's keep it here, all right? Let's put 30 minutes on the clock, and let's begin the open debate. Pearl, I'll let you pick up here. Go ahead.
What happens to men when they don't pay child support?
There are consequences for it, especially when there's a court order for them to carry out their responsibility and pay child support so that child can be raised.
And what happens
Do you
if they
think
don't
there shouldn't be legal responsibilities or legal consequences if they fail to carry out a court order to, you know, take care of their kids?
I've interviewed men that have paid millions of dollars in
Don't
child
care about your
support
interviews. Anecdotal evidence doesn't matter. What I need is actual statistic, empirical evidence.
Translation, any evidence that does not disagree with a woman. Typical feminist tactic. Am I right?
They should pay their child support. $441
What happens?
is the average child support payment. $441 a month.
Yeah, that's for someone that makes $24,000 a year.
You just told me a woman can just go to work and take care of the kids totally by herself.
How does a guy live when he's paying $500 a month on $24,000 a year?
You think $500 a month is too much in child support? Do you know how much it costs to raise a child? Do you know how much childcare costs, for instance? I mean, that mother has to go to work, right? Where's the kid going to stay while that mother is working? How is she going to pay for what
happens to men when they don't
daycare?
pay child support?
Sorry, say that again?
What happens to men when they don't pay child support?
There are legal repercussions for not carrying out a court mandate to do something.
Do you think that fraud should be illegal?
Absolutely.
Okay. So why is it not illegal for women to fraud men on paternity? If a man does not find out he's the father over the age of 2, he is on the hook for child support for 18 years.
I don't know what the law is when it comes to that, but it's wrong. If you're lying about paternity, that is wrong, and there should be legal consequences
why
for that.
haven't feminists fought?
It's that simple.
Then why aren't feminists fighting for it, Anna?
Because feminists fight for women, obviously.
Right, that's my point, at the expense of men. You guys want to believe women at the expense of men. Why isn't Amber Heard in jail? Because of the Me Too movement. You guys pushed believing all rape victims, and now we have rape.
Amber Heard had to pay out a massive settlement.
Yeah, but why isn't she in jail?
You want her in jail?
Yes.
Well,
she ruined his
the penalties
life.
for defamation are what the court's decision is, right? You want people to go to prison for defamation?
Yes, Anna, we do. A woman who makes a false allegation towards a man should have a sentence that is equally as heavy as what the man could have faced if he went to court by that false allegation. Also, I would like to point out, Anna, that Amber Heard was a psychotic lunatic proven within the court system. She physically abused Johnny Depp, give Johnny Depp multiple torture-based injuries that he had to be treated for, like being sodomized in the face, a tip of his finger chopped off. Oh, and Amber Heard also pooped in his bed. Literally pooped. Human feces was found in their bed, provided by Amber Heard, and yet you, Anna, are choosing to defend that behavior instead of just calling it out, saying it was wrong. What has to happen in order for this pro-feminist Anna to be willing to say, hey, the way women treat men is wrong? What has to take place? Like, what? How far are you willing to go with this hatred of men? How far?
He had to go to 2 different countries to clear his name. Why isn't she in jail? He lost millions of dollars.
To be clear, you think the penalty for defamation is prison time?
I think the penalty for a false accusation is that the woman should get the same time that he would have gotten if he was found guilty.
Men don't go to prison for defamation.
And see, this is the problem with feminists. You want all these freedoms, but you won't actually be equal.
I do want equality.
No, if you wanted to be equal, you would fight for 50-50 child support, no alimony.
No alimony. So again, if a woman decided to forego working, decided to stay home to raise the children, and the marriage doesn't work out, she's got no income whatsoever, she doesn't deserve any alimony.
Women aren't even doing that. Number one, that's not even women are not staying home with the kids. And number two, you have daycare.
A lot of women do these days, actually.
You have daycare
the traditional women who want to stay home, they want to be traditional wives. And you trash them all the time, which I don't understand.
Look,
it seems like women can't do anything right when it comes to you, right? They're stay-at-home moms, they're traditional,
I understand that you can personally attack me. That's fine.
I'm not personally attacking you.
Okay.
These are things that you have said on the record multiple times.
But if you cared about equality, you would care about false accusations.
I do care about false accusations.
No, you don't.
You don't know me. You don't know what I care about.
Look, all right. Let's talk about rights that men do not have. Men do not have the right to be enlisted in selective service. You know, we have 125K men who were drafted and buried overseas. Think about that over a second. You talk about the oppressions of the past, but how many men died in World War I and World War II and had no choice? And yet Anna complains about oppression. Men do not have the right to face their accuser in court when they have a false allegation and for personal protection orders that strips constitutional rights away from the man. Women go before a judge and say they don't feel safe, and more than likely a PP order will be issued. The man was not in court, had no say, has no defense, and does not get to face his accuser. That is done en masse, and many servicemen and first responders lose their careers over this because it strips a man's Second Amendment rights away based on no evidence. Men do not have the right to raise their children. Divorce is no fault, but when it comes to child custody, it's always the man's fault. He loses his children to the system. 96 hours a month the father does not make. Men have longer prison sentences. Women get a third of the time for the same crime. Where are the feminists fighting for equality on that issue? There has been rampant discrimination against better qualified men in hiring across multiple industries. Men pay more child support, and child support orders are not enforced at the same rates between men and women. Women are more likely not to pay and are prosecuted for non-payment at lower rates. Men cannot opt out of parenthood. Men have very few domestic violence shelters and are not taken seriously when they're domestic violence victims.
I agree on that.
White men in particular are discriminated against when it comes to hiring and educational attainment.
True.
The Duluth model is a model that law enforcement, courts, and counselors use automatically that assumes men are the aggressor. The tender years doctrine is a guideline in divorce used to justify removing the father from the child's life. The only institutional sexism that exists is institutional sexism that discriminates against men in favor of women. Furthermore, U.S. courts do not require receipts to show how that money is spent by the custodial parent, unless there's overwhelming evidence of starvation, malnutrition, or severe child abuse. There are numerous reports of custodial
You want the
parents
government to
spending the
check
money
receipts
on
and see, like...
Let's let her respond to some of that.
Hold on, let's understand something. You want government to be so big that you literally have the government looking at receipts to see what a mother is spending the money on?
Well, I think that if a mother is spending child support payments on herself and not the child, then child support should be immediately removed. Like immediately. The mother should not be legally allowed to spend any payments. That's right. The mother should not be allowed to spend a single penny of child support on herself. Not a single penny. If there is evidence that the mother is spending child support payments on herself, then the mother should not be allowed anywhere near that kid anymore. Because now there is evidence that that mother is exploiting her child for financial gain. Which, by the way, last time I checked, was outlawed a long time ago. But for some reason, if a woman's doing it, it's completely okay.
Insane.
I want no child support, no alimony, 50-50.
Yeah, because you're crazy and you don't live in reality.
I want equality. I'm more of a feminist than you, Anna. Because I say if you want to vote, be in selective service. Be on the front lines just like the men are.
Who do you think gives birth to and raises those soldiers?
What does that have to do with anything?
Because you assert that women shouldn't be allowed to vote because they're not all in mandatory military service.
I say be equal. You want to vote, do what the men do. Men are fined $125,000.
Should women be included in combat? Should women be included in combat?
Yes.
Okay.
Do what the men do.
Fair.
Do what the men do.
Yeah, fair. Agreed. Next? Next? Nothing? Okay. I want to know what your ideal woman is, because if you are a traditional conservative woman who's married, staying at home, raising kids, you trash them.
There's no such thing as a traditional woman. They cannot be traditional in 2025 because women will always have the leverage.
What does that mean? What does it mean that women will always have the leverage?
It means if a woman makes an allegation towards a man, she's automatically believed because women have been actively engaged in violating a man's constitutional right to due process and be innocent until proven guilty for quite some time now, Anna. That's what it means. If you really wanted equality, Anna, you would be publicly telling all your fellow women to cease and assist with that. But you clearly are not. Instead, you are pretending that the problem doesn't exist. Well, guess what, Anna? Pretending that the problem does not exist will not make the problem go away.
Women have child support to fall back on. Women have alimony. So automatically...
10% of divorces end with alimony settlements.
And
10%.
And they go...
You just ignore the stats.
They
you
go
just move
from
on.
men to women. They go from men to women. Billions of dollars every year.
I thought you said earlier that women are paying alimony.
Billions of dollars of wealth every year is transferred from men to women.
Mm-hmm. Based on what? Where are you getting that information from? Are you just making it up?
From the current divorce rates, Anna. That's where we get it from. We've all seen the current divorce rates. We all know who is actually filing for divorce in this country. We all know that.
We have it. We're excited. We can get it to you at the end. You didn't want to submit. Where are your sources? You didn't want to submit them ahead of time. You did.
The Census Bureau, Bureau of Labor Statistics. I cited everything I mentioned. Pull it up. Pearl, the main thing I want people to understand, okay, Pearl's gonna trash women no matter what. That's fine.
I'm not trashing
But
them.
my biggest gripe with you is you're discouraging people from entering marriages.
I don't tell men what to do. Sell me on.
You advise men to avoid marriage.
Sell me on marriage. What do men get out of marriage?
That's sad. It's sad that people think that. It really is. You get a partner, you get a teammate, you get to build a life together, and it's beautiful.
Men can get a dog. Yeah, we can. We get the exact same benefit for a dog.
I feel
Oh, also, Anna, sorry to interrupt this real quick, everybody, but also, Anna, please define partner for us. Please define that.
like misery loves company in this situation. And how would you know what you get out of marriage if you haven't experienced marriage in the first place? I'm not saying that as a personal attack. I really hope that Pearl meets the love of her life and gets married. It's not about that. But you trash it without really understanding what the benefits are.
Why do we have phrases like it's cheaper to keep her?
Pearl,
answer the question.
Divorce is expensive. And by the way, on purpose, to discourage people from getting divorced in the first place.
Why do we have phrases like happy wife, happy life?
Because it's true. Same with happy husband, happy life. I don't want to come home to an angry husband.
But that's not a phrase.
Do you have any other like catchphrase or slogan you want to throw at me?
What do men get out of marriage?
They get a partner.
That gains 25 pounds in the first 5 years.
Men get pretty fat too. I don't know if you've done a comparative analysis on that. They actually end up gaining more weight than their wives do.
Okay, Anna, first of all, it's not a partnership if there's no legal consequences for the woman for violating her end of the marriage contract. That's just the reality. So I don't know who you're trying to fool with this whole men get a partner out of local Western marriages. I don't know who you're trying to fool with that.
And who cares?
Men.
I mean, have a conversation with your partner. Encourage her. Be an adult.
How can men and women be equal?
Especially if she's giving you children.
How can men and women be equal when one is expected to die for the other?
I don't expect anyone to die for anyone else. I don't know what that even comes from.
Yeah, but men are willing to die for you every day. The men in the police force, the men in the military.
What about the women in the police force?
They're 10% and they cause so many problems.
Who cares what percentage women make up of the police force? They're in the police force. My sister-in-law's a cop, actually.
They can't do the same jobs. There's videos on the internet everywhere of women getting their guns taken because they're not strong enough.
Are you just making things up?
No.
Pearl, what are you doing? Like, seriously.
Pearl is questioning you, Anna, very peacefully, and you're responding to her, which is lashing out and insults, which means you have already lost the debate. You have. But still, this is the exact reason why men don't want to marry local Western women anymore. Because the only thing we get out of it is what Anna has been demonstrating that she's offering, which is shame, insults. Why would a man want to do that? Why would a man want to invest in that? Like, why?
Next question.
Do you realize how good you have it in this country?
Absolutely. Best country in the world.
And you get to live the life you live at the expense of men.
No, that's not true.
That is true.
Show me how.
I'll show you how, Anna. That building you're in was literally built by men. Isn't it kind of funny how so many feminists keep forgetting something like that? Isn't it?
Do you know how many men die every year? Just to There are men that die every year to get you crab.
How many women die every year during childbirth?
Not many.
This country has the highest maternal mortality rate of any developed country, so a lot of women do die.
Okay, Anna, that is a BS lie. I'm not going to let you lie like that on my channel. And I'm going to tell you the reason why that's a lie. How I know that's a lie. I've been working at the heart of the hospital as a sterile plastic technician for multiple years now. I know what the female fatality rate is at hospitals on average. I know what the female mortality rate is. It is not as high as you are making it out to be, Anna. If it was that high, hospitals would not be allowed to accept insurance money at all. They would not be. Please, Anna, stop lying on national television.
Result of pregnancy and childbirth, yes. This is painful, man. Do you have any other questions for me?
Not right now.
All right. Should I move on? Like, what are we doing now?
Can I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, let's just jump in here. So why don't we do this? I'll ask you one and then I'll ask you one and we'll kind of go back and forth. I kind of half jokingly said at the beginning, like Pearl had mentioned, I think you actually said it here too, that you believe you may be more of a feminist. Do you consider yourself to be a feminist, and how would you define that?
I don't consider myself to be a feminist, mainly because it's a loaded word, and there are certain outcomes from certain waves of feminism that I don't agree with, particularly minimizing the importance of men in society. I do think that there is, especially the third wave of feminism that's done that. I personally really value masculine men, and I don't appreciate feminists speaking on behalf of all women in regard to what women prefer.
Wait a minute, Anna, you're literally doing that right now. You're literally doing that right now, Anna. You've been doing that during this entire debate. You really have been. Have you forgot that?
I think the Me Too movement started off as a legitimate grievance with women who were legitimately abused, and it devolved into something laughable and ridiculous, especially when, someone like Aziz Ansari gets accused of being like some sort of sexual predator when he clearly wasn't. So I just don't like how loaded that word is. What I actually genuinely want is equality among the sexes. I'm not looking for women to have an upper hand over men at all. But we need to be based in reality, and we need to look at the statistics and figure out what's really going on. If men are getting a raw deal as a result of divorces, then yeah, the laws need to change. And I genuinely thought prior to this debate that they were getting the raw end of the deal. But as I researched this, I realized I was believing in outdated myths. So, yeah.
Pearl, let me ask you this. Do you believe and obviously you are citing a lot of anecdotal stories. I do think it's fair to point out every anecdotal story is someone's story, right? So they're not fake stories and they're not meaningless, obviously, to the people who live those realities. In a lot of cases, they're very painful. Because of your platform, you speak to a lot of those people. How much is that informing where you're coming from in this debate? Is the real stories of people who have been hurt by this stuff?
I mean, I've interviewed 1,000 people. I interviewed a guy who had his kid transitioned and there was nothing he could do about it. I interviewed another guy and he spent $300,000 trying to get his kid back. He actually went overseas to Ukraine during the war, just trying to be in his kid's life. So yeah, it impacts it a lot. I've interviewed so many men that want nothing more than to just be a dad and see their kid. They don't even care about the money. They just want to see their children. And if you ask Anna, it doesn't exist, but if you ask any man, like everybody knows somebody that it's happened to. And commentators can, they can try to minimize it. They can talk from their ivory towers and pretend it's not happening, but there's a genocide of millions of men that's going on in this country.
When you use the word
genocide?
I was going to say
1.6 million men commit suicide, have committed suicide since 1970.
Similar rates of women also attempt suicide but fail because they usually don't resort to more violent means of ending their own lives.
Right,
so they'll take pills.
But why is it that every time we bring up men, you have to bring up women?
Because we're doing a comparative analysis here. You can't just throw out statistics without comparing it.
Madam, there's a difference between comparison analysis and just throwing away the problems that men go through. There's a difference. For example, successful suicide takes priority over attempted suicide. If men are successfully deleting themselves a lot more often than women are deleting themselves, that is technically a genocide because that's being promoted by women here in the West as a direct result of the way how women here in the West have been treating men for quite some time now as a direct result of the feminist movement. And quite frankly, I don't care what it is you have in your pants, Anna. If you are going to be looking the other way at an actual genocide, whether it be silent or not, once again, you are a very dangerous individual, and the entire planet is better off not having you into their lives. Anyways, that's all I got time for today. I'm going to be calling in a very special someone after this.